Well, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Deputy Speaker. May I take my hat off to the astonishing lady from Bradford South, who brought so much content into such a short presentation, and I thank her for that. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have an enormous body of material to get through very quickly. If I may, I will just deal initially with the questions, Labour New Clause 26 on job creation and related measures. This finance bill will require the government, New Clause 26 will require the government to conduct an assessment of the effect of the Act on job creation. As the House will know, the government's announced unprecedented support through the coronavirus job retention scheme, the self-employed scheme and the like. The Office of Budget Responsibility have said that those actions will directly help to support the incomes of individuals. The Treasury does not produce economic forecasts, and the Office of Budget Responsibility does and publishes them twice a year. And for that reason, I would ask members to reject this clause. In relation to New Clause 12, which is in relation to previously considered at Public Bill Committee stage impacts on regions and nations, that would require the Chancellor within 1 month to review the impact of the bill. As I emphasised at Public Bill Committee stage, the provisions on this bill have already been developed with careful consideration. Analysis of government decisions on GDP is also carried out by the Independent Office of Budget Responsibility, and again, we will continue to monitor the impact of the crisis, but I would ask members to reject that clause. SNP New Clause 18 requires a review of the impact of the Act on investment, productivity and employment. Again, it would require the government to look at hypothetical scenarios, whereas the OBR is required by law to produce its forecasts based on stated government policy, and therefore I would ask the House to reject that. I come now to IR35, the off-payroll working rules. I have been pressed vigorously on this issue by honourable friends, the members for Milton Keynes North, for Guildford, for Workington and for Barrow-in-Furness. Amendments 16 and 17 seek to remove the reform of these rules from the bill. That would be a serious mistake, would cost the country many hundreds of millions of pounds. The level of non-compliance at the moment with the rules is scheduled to cost the country £1.3 billion alone in 2023-24 if not addressed. Since I don't believe the SNP really want this, I would encourage the House to vote against it. I come now to the cross-party amendments framed by my colleague, the member for Halton Price and the Right Honourable member for Halton Price and Howden. I think it's important to engage with several of the things he said. He said that contractors could be pushed into a state of no benefits employment. It's important to note that contractors already receive a number of benefits funded by the government when they are employees of their own personal service companies. They include statutory maternity, paternity, adoption, parental bereavement and shared parental pay. And these are provided by PSCs, which are then able to claim 100% of those payments, plus 3% compensation from the government. My honourable friend said that at least 7 people have taken their own lives as a result of the loan charge. I think it's very important to put in the public record that, of course, every single death of an individual is a tragedy. The circumstances surrounding these have been considered by the coroner, the Independent Office of Police Conduct and HMRC's own internal yet independent investigations. None of these has suggested that HMRC are to blame for these deaths. In these 4 reports, no conduct issues have been identified either by the Independent Office or internal investigations that would warrant disciplinary actions. I'm afraid I just have to press on because I've got no time. My honourable friend, right honourable friend, the member for Halton Price and Howden, raised the question of a review under section on the loan charge. These are some of the most egregious and most and clearest forms of tax avoidance within the tax system. It's hard to see, in reaction to my friend the member for Gainsborough, how simplification of the tax system would prevent the kind of abuse that we have seen through the loan charge, or indeed potentially through IR35. These loan charge APPG published a report rubbishing the independence of the Morse review. I can do no better than to refer them to the member for Halton Price and Howden's own remarks when he described Sir Amyas Morse as independent, principled and highly respected. And that was true then, it is now. His new Clause 31 would drive a coach and horses through long-standing principles of taxation because the tax system relies on individuals being responsible for their own tax and there being as little discretion as possible in the system. Both of those principles would be overturned, as my friend the member for Wimbledon hinted in his remarks, and for that reason I would encourage all members to reject that clause if it comes to a vote. And with that, I will sit down. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Is that it? Okay. The question is that new Clause 26 be read a second time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Or the contrary, no. No. Division. Good. Front benchers, please form an orderly queue, and everybody else, please leave from behind the chair.